I am 100 years old, and the most painful truth I've learned is this. Love doesn't disappear in one moment. It fades in the seconds you thought didn't matter. The nights you said I'm tired. The times you chose your phone over their voice. The apologies you postponed. I thought I had time. Time to fix it. Time to listen. Time to love better. But time is silent. And when you finally notice it leaving, it's already gone. If you think you still have later, this message is for you, because one day, later will become regret. I am 100 years old, and if I could go back and change one habit, just one, it would be this. I would learn how to truly listen. You see, most of my life, I believed I was a good husband. I provided. I worked hard. I stayed loyal. I came home every night. In my mind, that was enough. So when my wife spoke, I heard her words, but I did not hear her heart. There is a difference, a painful difference. When she would say, "You never really talk to me anymore," I would immediately defend myself. "What do you mean? I'm here every day." When she said, "You don't understand how I feel," I would reply, "Of course I do." But I didn't. I wasn't listening to understand her. I was listening to protect myself. That is what many of us do. We don't listen to connect. We listen to prepare our defense. We listen to prove we are right. We listen to end the conversation. But when you listen that way, you slowly lose the person in front of you. At 35, I thought arguments were about logic. At 50, I thought arguments were about stress. At 70, I realized arguments were about feelings. But by then, many feelings had already gone unspoken. There was a night I will never forget. She was sitting at the kitchen table, quiet, not angry, just quiet. She said softly, "I don't feel heard anymore." And instead of pausing, instead of asking, "What do you mean?" I reacted. I explained why she was wrong. I listed all the things I did for the family. I turned her pain into a debate. That was my mistake, because she wasn't asking for proof. She was asking for presence. Do you understand the difference? Presence is when you stop talking. Presence is when you look into someone's eyes and say, "Tell me more." Presence is when you don't rush to fix. You just sit with the emotion. But I didn't know that. I thought being strong meant solving problems. I thought love meant providing solutions. I did not realize love often means simply being there. When someone you love speaks from their heart, they are not looking for a courtroom. They are looking for comfort. And when they don't find it, they begin to close. Not dramatically, not loudly, quietly, very quietly. Over time, I noticed she stopped sharing certain things. She didn't tell me about her small frustrations anymore. She didn't tell me about her fears. She would say, "It's fine." And I believed her, because it was easier that way. But "it's fine" often means, "I tried. You didn't listen." Silence in a marriage is rarely peace. Sometimes it is surrender. I wish someone had told me this when I was young. When your partner speaks emotionally, do not react immediately. Pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, am I listening to understand, or am I listening to respond? Because the tone of your response can either build safety or destroy it. Listening is not waiting for your turn to talk. Listening is absorbing. It is noticing the small tremble in their voice. It is hearing the sadness behind the words. It is asking gentle questions. instead of making strong statements. I used to interrupt. I used to say, "That's not what happened." Now I realize something painful. Sometimes it doesn't matter what happened, it matters how they felt. Feelings do not care about facts, they care about validation. If someone feels hurt and you respond with correction instead of compassion, they will feel alone. And loneliness inside a marriage is a dangerous thing, because when someone feels alone long enough, they stop trying, they stop explaining, they stop hoping to be understood. And that is the beginning of emotional distance. I thought distance came from betrayal or big fights. But no, distance comes from repeated small moments of not being heard. I remember the last years of our marriage. We weren't fighting. We were peaceful, too peaceful. The conversations were practical. Did you pay the bill? What time is the appointment? But the deeper talks were gone. And one day, sitting alone in my living room, I asked myself, when did she stop telling me how she truly felt? And the answer hurt. She stopped when she realized I wasn't really listening. If you are married, let me ask you something gently. When your partner speaks, do you truly slow down, or do you prepare your defense? When they express frustration, do you correct them, or do you comfort them? When they say, "You don't understand," do you argue, or do you lean closer? Because listening is not a skill you use in meetings. It is a gift you give to someone's heart. And when you refuse that gift long enough, they stop offering their heart to you. At 100 years old, I can tell you this: being right never saved my marriage, but listening could have. Understanding is more powerful than winning. Compassion is stronger than logic. And sometimes the most loving sentence you can say is, "I didn't realize you felt that way. Tell me more." If I had said that more often, perhaps fewer nights would have ended in silence. Perhaps fewer tears would have been shed alone. Perhaps fewer regrets would sit with me today. I cannot go back, but you can. Tonight, when your partner speaks, don't interrupt, don't correct, don't defend. Just listen, not to reply, not to win, but to understand. Because one day, when you are old like me, you won't remember the arguments you won. You will remember the moments you missed. And I wish, more than anything, that I had listened sooner. I am 100 years old, and if there is one illusion that quietly destroys love, it is this: we think small things don't matter. When you are young, you focus on the big responsibilities: paying bills, building a career, raising children, buying a house, saving for the future. You tell yourself, "As long as I handle the big things, everything else will be fine." That is what I believed, and I was wrong. Because marriages do not collapse because of one massive explosion. They erode slowly through small, repeated neglect. I remember when my wife would say things like, "You didn't notice I changed my hair," or "You forgot what today was." I would laugh it off. "Come on, it's not a big deal." But to her, it was, and I didn't understand that at the time. You see, small moments are emotional signals. They are not about the haircut. They are about attention. They are not about the birthday. They are about feeling valued. They are not about the tone of your voice. They are about respect. When you repeatedly ignore small bids for connection, something subtle happens. Your partner stops reaching. Psychologists call them bids for attention. I didn't know that word when I was young, but I lived its consequences. A bid is when your partner says, "Look at this. Can I tell you something? Do you think this looks nice? Are you listening?" Every time you respond warmly, you strengthen the bond. Every time you brush it off, you weaken it, just a little. And here is the painful truth. Love is built in small moments, not grand gestures, not anniversaries, not vacations, small daily choices. I thought love was strong because we had survived hard times. We had faced financial stress. We had raised children together. We had dealt with sickness and loss. So I assumed our foundation was unbreakable. But foundations don't crack loudly. They crack quietly, through indifference. I used to come home tired from work. She would start talking about her day. I would nod but not really listen. I would scroll through the newspaper or turn on the television. I wasn't cruel. I wasn't abusive. I was just absent. And absence can hurt more than anger, because anger at least shows energy. Absence shows disinterest. Over time, she began talking less, not dramatically. Gradually, I thought that meant peace. I thought, good, less conflict. But what it really meant was she no longer felt it was worth trying. That realization did not hit me until much later. There was a day when I noticed something strange. We were sitting in the same room, but it felt like we were in different worlds. No tension, no argument, just distance. And I asked myself, when did this happen? The answer was not one big mistake. It was hundreds of small ones, forgotten compliments, unanswered questions, dismissed emotions, missed anniversaries, sarcastic comments I thought were harmless. Every small dismissal tells your partner, "You are not important enough for my full attention." You may not say it, but you show it. And repeat it enough times, they believe it. I used to think romance fades naturally. Now I know it fades through neglect. You do not lose love in one day. You lose it in micro moments. The way you greet them, the way you respond to their excitement, the way you react when they are vulnerable. One evening, she showed me something she had written, a small poem. She looked nervous. I glanced at it quickly and said, "That's nice." Then I went back to what I was doing. I didn't look at her face. I didn't see the disappointment. Years later, after she passed, I found that same poem in a drawer, folded, kept, and I realized that moment mattered to her. It was not just a poem, it was her heart, and I treated it like a receipt. That is what ignoring small things does. It turns meaningful moments into forgettable ones, but they are not forgettable to the person who offered them. They remember. Even if they stop mentioning it, marriage is not sustained by intensity. It is sustained by consistency. The small kiss before leaving, the small thank you, the small "I'm proud of you," the small "How was your day?" You may think those are automatic, but they are not. They are choices. And when you stop choosing them, the emotional bank account runs empty. At 100 years old, I understand something clearly. Small things are not small. They are the entire structure. A house is not made of one giant brick. It is made of thousands of small ones. Remove enough small bricks and the house collapses. If you are married, let me ask you gently, when was the last time you truly looked at your partner when they spoke? When was the last time you complimented something small? When was the last time you noticed their effort? If you cannot remember, start today, because one day you may sit where I am sitting, and you will not regret the money you didn't make. You will not regret the hours you worked less. You will regret the moments you overlooked. You will regret the smile you didn't return, the hug you rushed, the story you half listened to. I would give anything to go back to those small, ordinary evenings, to listen longer, to notice more, to care about the little things she cared about, because in the end, those little things were never little. They were everything, and I wish I had understood that sooner. I am 100 years old, and if there is one lie that quietly destroys love, it is this: we still have time. I said those words my entire life, not out loud, but in my actions. When she wanted to talk and I was tired, I thought, I'll make it up to her tomorrow. When I forgot to apologize after a harsh tone, I told myself, it's not a big deal. We'll be fine. When I postponed a date night because of work, I believed there will be many more. Time felt endless when I was young. Days were long. Years felt slow. The future seemed guaranteed. But time is not something you own. It is something you are borrowing. And one day the lender asks for it back. I remember one specific moment. She was standing in the kitchen doorway, watching me work late again. She didn't yell. She didn't complain. She simply said, I miss you. And I replied without looking up, I'm doing this for us. I believed that. I believed sacrifice for the future was love. What I did not understand was this: love lives in the present. You cannot postpone connection. You cannot delay affection. You cannot reschedule emotional presence, because the present moment is where love breathes. And every time you delay it, something suffocates. We assume our partner will always be there, that no matter how distracted we are, no matter how busy we become, no matter how many times we say later, they will wait. But even the most patient heart grows tired, not tired of loving, tired of waiting, waiting to be prioritized, waiting to be appreciated, waiting to feel chosen. Time does something subtle in marriage. It turns urgency into assumption. In the beginning, you rush to call. You rush to see each other. You rush to fix misunderstandings. But after years together, you relax. You assume stability means permanence. It does not. It means comfort. And comfort can slowly turn into complacency. I remember thinking, we've been together 40 years. Nothing can break us now. But relationships don't break because of one dramatic moment. They weaken because of delayed attention, delayed apologies, delayed appreciation, delayed effort. I postponed small repairs in our emotional connection. I thought they could wait, but emotional damage accumulates interest. Every ignored issue grows heavier. Every postponed conversation grows colder. And by the time you finally decide to address it, it feels distant, unnatural, forced. One night as we lay in bed, she asked me a question. Do you think we talk less than we used to? I smiled and said, that's normal. We're older now. But what she was really asking was, are we still close? And instead of answering that question, I dismissed it, because I thought closeness was permanent. I thought love, once built, would maintain itself. But love is not self-sustaining. It requires maintenance, attention, effort, time. And here is the painful irony. The thing we think we have plenty of is the one thing we are running out of. I thought I would have years to express deeper gratitude, years to slow down, years to correct my mistakes, years to sit and truly listen. Then one day the doctor said words I was not prepared to hear, and suddenly time became real, limited, fragile, precious. When you know time is short, everything changes. Conversations become sacred, moments become vivid, silences become meaningful. You begin noticing how beautiful ordinary things are. Her voice in the morning, the way she folded laundry, the way she smiled at small jokes. Things I once overlooked became priceless, and regret arrived. Not loud, not dramatic, just heavy. I wished I had taken more walks with her when she asked. I wished I had turned off the television more often. I wished I had chosen her over my distractions. But wishes do not change the past. They only remind you of what mattered. Time does not just pass, it transforms. Children grow up, hair turns gray, energy fades, voices soften, and one day the person you assumed would always be sitting across from you is no longer there. The house feels larger, quieter, colder, and you begin replaying memories. Not the big vacations, not the holidays, the small ordinary days. And you think, why did I rush through those? Why did I treat ordinary evenings like they were replaceable? They were not replaceable. They were life itself. If you are watching this and you are young, please understand something I learned too late. You do not strengthen love by planning for the future alone. You strengthen it by honoring the present. Say the apology today. Express the appreciation today. Ask the question today. Sit a little longer today. Because one day, today will become a memory, and memories do not give you second chances. I believed I had decades left to become a better listener, a better husband, a more present man. But improvement delayed is improvement denied. The most dangerous phrase in a marriage is not, I don't love you. It is later. Later I'll fix it. Later I'll try harder. Later I'll slow down. Later I'll express gratitude. Later I'll choose differently. Later becomes never more often than we admit. At 100 years old, I can tell you this. Time is not guaranteed. Love is not guaranteed. Moments are not guaranteed. The only thing guaranteed is regret if you keep postponing what matters. If I could speak to my younger self, I would say stop waiting, stop assuming, stop delaying connection. Look at her when she talks. Hold her hand without being asked. Sit in silence together without distraction. Not because something is wrong, but because one day silence will feel very different, and you will wish you had filled it with presence. I thought I had time, and that was my greatest mistake. Don't make it yours.